Royal Rumble season is far and away my favorite time of the year as a professional wrestling fan. There's so many rumors, so many what ifs, and we get to watch it all play out together as a community. Hell, next year, we're gonna be able to say that we're gonna Netflix and Royal Rumble together. Now, this year's Royal Rumble Premium Live event only has 4 matches, which I actually think is a very good thing because it means that each individual match on this card is gonna get a tremendous amount of tender love and care. I also wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in between these matches, there's some sort of segment involving Hulk Hogan. We can talk a little bit about that later. However, even though there's only 4 matches, I'm still gonna give you my predictions video as to who I think is gonna win each individual match. But to add a little bit of extra seasoning to this video, I'm also gonna give you who I think in the individual men's and women's Royal Rumble match will be the Iron Man / Iron Woman, who's gonna be a shock entrant in each Rumble match. I'm gonna give you who I think will be the final 4, and of course, I'm gonna give you the winner. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. Additionally, I'd also like to invite you over to twitch.tv/SantiZap, where we're gonna watch the Royal Rumble together as a community. Again, it's twitch.tv/SantiZap. The link is in the description of this video, so if you want some wrestling nerds and wrestling friends to watch along with, come on over. There's gonna be a few thousand of us. All right, let's get into the predictions. Let's start off with Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the WWE United States Championship. I've been admittedly a little bit disappointed with Logan Paul as the United States Champion. I just felt like he was going to be featured more. I don't like the fact that he hasn't had a single match for this title ever since he won it all the way back in Crown Jewel in early November. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand that he's a part-timer, he's supposed to be this special attraction, but I thought with him winning the United States Championship belt that we would get to see a little bit more of Logan Paul. But no, this is his very first match ever since winning the United States Championship belt, and I'm personally just not cool with the champion being this absent. And yes, I do stand on business because I've also been saying the same thing about Roman Reigns. Either way, I'm not gonna let my thoughts on that cloud my judgment here on this match, because at the very least, they've done a pretty solid job of building this. And not only do I think that they've done a really solid job of building Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens as an individual feud, I think that they've done a pretty solid job of making us think that the United States Championship is this really important prize, even though Logan Paul isn't a fighting champion, by having this admittedly very good and very stacked tournament for the #1 contendership. I would love for them to do this again in the future. And this feud has been very fun in terms of like the very few interactions that they've had. Logan Paul is just such a fun, charismatic, evil piece of shit presence, and Kevin Owens is Kevin Owens. We knew that if we were to put them in the ring together, let them work together, that they were gonna put on magic on the sticks, on that microphone, and now we get to see them do magic in the ring in an actual wrestling match, and I cannot wait for this. There is a really fun narrative here as well revolving around Kevin Owens' hand, because he has, at least on screen, a broken hand, and Logan Paul says that he will sue Kevin Owens if he shows up to this match with his cast, which is the most hilarious, ironic thing considering he's currently being sued because of the whole CryptoZoo thing. Either way, I see Logan Paul ultimately winning this because I don't think that this is going to be their only matchup. Do I think that Logan Paul is going to win clean? Absolutely not. I think that he's going to do everything in his power to get away with this title. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being some sort of disqualification because of the whole story with the arm and the cast. They've been just mentioning that too much for it to not maybe come into play in the actual match. I also don't think that this is the end of their feud. I wouldn't be surprised if this also ends up being a marquee match at Elimination Chamber in Perth, considering that is a show that as of right now, as of the making of this video, has no men's championship matches that are even possible because Gunther as the Intercontinental Champion is having visa problems and can't travel with the organization. We have Roman Reigns being Roman Reigns and is not advertised for the show. And then Seth freaking Rollins being injured most likely right up until WrestleMania means that we're probably going to have to lean on Logan Paul to be one of the marquee title matches for the men's side. And I think that you're going to be able to run Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, and it's probably going to be another good match at Elimination Chamber. But in order for us to be able to run that again, I think that Logan Paul needs to get away with some sort of snively victory. I do genuinely believe that Logan Paul is going to be carrying this championship right through to WrestleMania, so take that with what you will. Next up, we have the men's fatal 4-way match between Roman Reigns as the champion, taking on Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight in a fatal 4-way championship match. The one thing that I'd like to note about this overall build and overall feud is that the only person that's being treated as a genuine threat to Roman Reigns and his championship reign is Randy Orton. Both AJ Styles and LA Knight sort of feel like auxiliary NPC characters in this overall arching story between Roman and Randy Orton. And because AJ Styles and LA Knight just sort of feel like supporting characters, I've never once believed them to be a potential winner in this match, and I think that's problematic. On top of that, like, they're clearly building AJ Styles and LA Knight. Like, they've already looked forward and have made that a marquee match, whether it's Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania. And the fact that they're already looking ahead in terms of a feud between those two tells me that unless one of those two actually wins this match, neither of them are a threat of actually winning this. At least narratively, that's how they've been presenting this. So to me, I've been looking at this as Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton, featuring AJ Styles and LA Knight. My question to you actually would be, where do you put this on the card? Do you actually have this end the show? And that is traditionally where Roman Reigns matches go. However, I do feel like this one just doesn't have the same story implications that it's had in the past to warrant going after the men's or the women's Royal Rumble match. Personally, I might even have this start the show so that the losers could appear in the men's Royal Rumble match. Look, I obviously believe that Roman Reigns is winning, but I have one ask. I think that you finally have the tools to have a Roman Reigns victory that doesn't involve all the other members of the bloodline doing all of the dirty work. You can have AJ Styles, LA Knight take a pin here after maybe taking a bunch of finishers from all the other guys, and Roman Reigns slides in last minute, hits a spear, and takes the victory here. That's like the biggest thing that I want. Like, if you're gonna keep the title on Roman, which you most likely are, I just don't see Roman losing in a fatal 4-way environment. At the very least, let's use this as an opportunity to tell a different story of how Roman Reigns won. So for my pick, I'm obviously taking Roman Reigns here. However, I will note that I do believe that there's going to be a subsequent sequel to this that will be Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, either Elimination Chamber if Roman so decides to work it, or somewhere else down the line. Because like I said, this has been the Roman Reigns versus Randy show featuring AJ Styles and LA Knight, and at some point you're gonna have to drop the auxiliary characters in Styles and Knight and just have a straight up one-on-one match between Roman and Randy. Again, no disrespect to AJ Styles and LA Knight, it's just how I've been interpreting the story that they've been presenting on screen. Hey folks, if you want even more wrestling content, come check out my Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're going to get my reviews of Raw, SmackDown, NXT. You're also going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early. It's already been posted for this week, and you're going to get the monthly mailbag. So it's just more wrestling content, and you get to support me in terms of doing this as a full-time content creator. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Okay, that's it. Done with the sellout. Back to the video. All right, now let's go to the Women's Royal Rumble match. And I'm excited about this Women's Royal Rumble match, and I think one of the reasons why I'm so excited for this is because I believe firmly in my heart that this can be the first Women's Royal Rumble match where they don't have to lean on so many one-off legend appearances. Because sure, it's cool to get a Kelly appearance here or there, but when you have like 9, 10, 11, 12 of these one-off legend appearances, you really start to dwindle down who the legitimate contenders to win this are. I think there was a Rumble where they had like over 10 one-off legends appear. And now I truly believe that the women's division is so stacked across Raw, SmackDown, even NXT. Hell, even WWE Main Event, that show that like you probably don't watch, has a couple of women there like Xia Li and others that could make an appearance at this Royal Rumble. I feel like you can stack this Women's Royal Rumble match with mostly, if not all, active women's wrestlers today, which I don't think has been something that I've been able to say in previous Women's Royal Rumble matches. The other reason why I'm excited for this is because there's so many cool narrative threads going into this Women's Royal Rumble match. You have the struggle of Becky Lynch trying to gain her confidence back and try and go off and meet against Rhea at WrestleMania. You have the story of Bayley trying to demonstrate to Damage Control that she's got everything under control when we all know as the viewer that she doesn't. Bianca trying to overcome Damage Control. You have Nia Jax trying to squash everyone. There's so many narrative threads coming into this match. It's cool. So like I said, for these Rumble matches, I'm going to give you 4 predictions: Iron Woman, Shock Entrant, Final Four, and the overall winner. winner. So for the Iron Woman in this Women's Royal Rumble match, I think that it's going to be Bianca Belair. Obviously, she's a mega star. She's one of the top stars in this actual Royal Rumble match, but I think that the narrative that they have placed for her makes it perfect for her to be the Iron Woman, because she's going to have to overcome various members of Damage Control. And I think that she's going to be one of the last few people left in the Royal Rumble as well. So I'm going to put my eggs in the basket of Bianca Belair being the Iron Woman. By the way, if you don't know what Iron Woman is, it's like the person that lasts the longest in the Royal Rumble match. If I have to pick one shock entrant, I'm going to go with Naomi, who was recently going by Trinity Fatu over in TNA Wrestling. She just finished her contract over there. She just dropped the Women's Championship over there. And all eyes, always inevitably, all roads led back to the WWE. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to bring her back to a big standing ovation. I know that you could think of the likes of Mercedes Moné and AJ Lee, but I like, if I'm just like reading the room, looking at the context, the evidence that's been placed upon me, I would say that Naomi is the one that makes the most amount of realistic sense. I feel like we would just be hoping and wishing for Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, and AJ Lee. Meanwhile, Naomi, I think like it's a very strong possibility here. Here's who I think will be the final four. I do believe that it's going to be Bayley, the leader of Damage Control, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Nia Jax. In terms of who I think will be the eventual winner, I think that it's going to be Bayley, and I think that the last person that she eliminates is going to be Bianca Belair. This will help cement herself as like that person that kept her promise and helping take Damage Control to the top and taking them to the next level. But now she's gonna have to deal with the moral dilemma of what champion she chooses. Maybe there's some sort of story being told that she thinks that Io is the weaker of the champions and forces herself to go in that direction, and then all of a sudden we have a Batista and Evolution type of scenario. It could be some really good stuff. In terms of narrative that they could tell, I think Bayley can be the most entertaining out of the four. So that takes us into the Men's Royal Rumble match, and one of the reasons why I'm excited for this Men's Royal Rumble match is because I just cannot tell you who in the world is going to win this. For a while I was like, for sure Gunther is going to win this, and then I was like, hang on, CM Punk just came back, he announced himself for the Royal Rumble, he's got a narrative there, right there, perfect with Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes also has a really good story that you could tell to have him win back-to-back Rumbles, but now I just don't know who could win this, because yeah, sure, the odds-on favorite was Punk, but then in the most recent episode of Monday Night Raw, we had Gunther call out Seth Rollins and call his shot, and maybe he's gonna win. I don't know. This is why I love this. It's not predictable. Last year's, although I think was a good Royal Rumble, was very predictable with Cody Rhodes winning. This year, I have no idea. So let's go through the four predictions. Let's start off with the Iron Man. I believe that this year's Iron Man is going to be Cody Rhodes. I think that his story has to be the struggle of getting back to Roman Reigns, the struggle of getting back to a position where he can finish the story. I just don't think that coming out at number 30 again really helps tell that narrative. I think he has to be one of the first two, maybe the third, and he has to last all the way through to the end where he's likely going to be eliminated. Think of like Shawn Michaels when he went really deep in that year's Royal Rumble, all for the hope of trying to get another chance at The Undertaker. That's kind of what I'm envisioning here, only to have his heart broken and then be eliminated. Now on to the shock entrant, and I'm trying to keep these as realistic as possible because you could throw out MJF as a possibility. Okada, I don't think you can do Okada because his contract in New Japan ends after the Royal Rumble. So I'm going to go with who I think is the most logical surprise here, and that is Andrade Cien Almas, formerly Andrade El Idolo from All Elite Wrestling. His contract is officially done. There's no loose ends. He is a fully fledged free agent. Charlotte, his other half, is in the WWE. It's just too perfect for him to not return to the world of the WWE. I think this is more or less a lock in my opinion, and it'd be great to have Andrade in a Triple H run WWE, considering his best run in the WWE was in the Triple H run, NXT Black and Gold. Here's what I think will be the final four for this year's Royal Rumble match. I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Gunther, and Drew McIntyre. All of these guys in some way, shape, or form linked to each other. We saw Cody Rhodes and CM Punk stare each other down. We saw Gunther, of course, take on Drew McIntyre numerous times. Drew McIntyre has had problems with both Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. All of this, it's just too perfect for these guys to be the final four. So this is what I'm going with. And in terms of who I think is going to win the Men's Royal Rumble match, man, let me tell you, I've switched up my tune like 17 different times when it comes to this. I've picked one person and then been like, nah, never mind, I'm gonna go with this, with that. I think that based on what we saw in the most recent episode of Raw, that it is going to be Gunther, the ring general. And I do believe that they may be doing The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which is why they're already starting to plant the seeds of Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk so that that can happen at WrestleMania, which leaves Seth Rollins open to maybe take on Gunther, who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble match. That's the original person that I wanted to win it all the way back in like September when I was originally starting to think of predictions. So yeah, I think it's going to be Gunther. Either way, the real winners are going to be me, you, and the rest of WWE fans, because this is shaping up to be a fantastic show, and I cannot wait to watch it with you as a community. Again, twitch.tv/SantiZap. Come hang out with us. You're going to get to be able to watch alongside other wrestling nerds and geek out about professional wrestling without being embarrassed, okay? So come on over, twitch.tv/SantiZap. I can't wait to see you there. But folks, those are my predictions for the show. What would you do differently? What would your predictions be? This is your opportunity to be able to sound off. But that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.